Did you know that one of the biggest reasons that recreational athletes fail to improve their speed or endurance is running too fast? That may seem counterintuitive, but running too long at moderate or high intensity will give you diminishing returns and can lead to injury and burnout. The number one way to be able to run longer and faster is actually to slow down. You need to spend the vast majority of your time training at lower effort and intensity levels so that you can recover faster, build your aerobic base, increase fatigue resistance, and be able to run longer. We're going to dive deeper into this during the episode. To run longer and faster without getting tired, you need to spend around 80% of your time in lower training zones, zones 1 and 2. We have a tendency to spend the majority of our time in moderate intensity zones, like zone 3. This is problematic because it isn't a hard enough effort to reap the benefits of high intensity interval zones, but it's also too hard an effort to recover and build the aerobic base, so it's really the worst of both worlds. There are 3 key areas to train in order to be the fastest endurance athlete you can be. They are 1, aerobic base, 2, fatigue resistance, and 3, running economy. But there's a bonus skill that you get as a result of the low intensity volume that you're doing that will be discussed at the end of the video. But before we get started, we have to define what low intensity zones are. So zones 1 and 2 can be defined as relative perceived effort levels on a scale of 1 to 10 as a 1 and 2 for zone 1, or an effort level 3 and 4 for zone 2. Or a more scientific approach is to actually calculate what your lactate threshold heart rate is. And this is a little bit deep for our discussion today, but you can click the link in the video that will take you to the video on how to calculate your heart rate zones. But zone 1 is going to be 75 to 80% of your lactate threshold heart rate, and zone 2 is going to be 81 to 89% of your lactate threshold heart rate. 1. Let's start with aerobic base. And this is your ability, or your body's ability, to use oxygen as a fuel source. And this is really important because as your body's producing energy from sugar, which is your main source of energy during most of your runs, you can only produce 2 to 3 ATP, or these are the energy molecules, per sugar molecule when you're doing anaerobic metabolism, or that would be metabolism that doesn't involve oxygen. However, with aerobic metabolism, or using oxygen, you can produce 36 ATP per glucose molecule. So that's 12 to 18 times more energy than anaerobic metabolism. This is why having an aerobic base is so important. So you can build this base in 2 different ways. One is low intensity training, and then the other is high intensity training. Low intensity training improves fat metabolism, muscular capillary density, or the blood supply that's going to your muscles. You also get a conversion of type 2 muscle fibers from X to type 2A, or from non-oxidative or like anaerobic to oxidative. And also you get increased mitochondrial production, and mitochondria is where you produce your energy. So if you have a denser or higher volume of mitochondria per muscle cell, you're going to be able to produce more energy. Now, high intensity training can also do all of these, but a high volume of high intensity training also puts you at a higher risk of injury and fatigue and burnout. Number 2 is fatigue resistance. And fatigue resistance is the ability to continue an exercise at your current effort level. And really, this is the ultimate endurance ability, because if you want to go for a long and sustained pace, then you have to be able to have this fatigue resistance. And I don't want to get too technical, but the body produces a compound that's called interleukin-6, or IL-6. And this compound has been highly associated with fatigue. So the higher levels of interleukin-6 or IL-6 that your body produces, the more fatigued you're going to feel. What they've found, and studies have shown, is that with increased low-intensity workouts, the body begins to produce less and less IL-6. This allows you to go longer and endure more on your runs without getting fatigued. And the key way that you can build up your fatigue resistance is through large volumes of low-intensity training. The last skill that you need to develop as an endurance athlete to be able to run faster and longer is called running economy. And running economy is the ability to run at the same pace with less effort or using less energy. And the best way that you can develop this is, again, through running high volumes at a low intensity. As your body starts to get used to running more and more on different surfaces, your body and your mind will start to be able to read what is the best and most efficient way so that you can be the most efficient runner to spend less energy and less effort sustaining the same pace. And there really is no one-size-fits-all. It is really in the body's best interest to develop its own running economy and form for that individual, because everybody's legs, torso length, everything is different, and it is a case-by-case basis on what is your best running form. All right, and now we're on to the bonus skill. And this bonus skill that you can develop from a high volume of low-intensity training is a tolerance to suffer. The longer that you are willing to run, the more your body and your mind get used to running and sustaining a high volume. So low-intensity long runs win out here as well for endurance athletes, because high-intensity training hurts more, but low-intensity hurts longer. And the longer you are able to endure, the more you can train your mind to endure longer distances at a higher sustained effort. So to recap, by running at lower intensities, you are less prone to injury, can train with higher total volumes, you can increase your aerobic base better, develop your running economy, and increase your mental toughness for endurance races. So really, truly, to run faster and run longer, you probably need to slow down in your training. You need to train slow in order to run fast. So get out there, train hard, train smart, and train Spartan. We'll catch you next time.